level playing field. That is about all the extra legislation around tax and environment and labour standards that surround the regulations.
So basically this is going to be grist to the mill of those people saying this is Brexit in name only.
So I think what has happened, and it probably wasn't supposed to happen, is that people who have read this document, cabinet ministers who are a little sceptical, have given little details out to some other MPs on their side of the argument, and that is why you've had the backlash. You heard from Peter Bone there from Prime Minister's questions, very angry about what he's hearing about this. I've also heard, after I mentioned that to you, those two quite fundamental details about the shape of this deal, I heard from a very sort of basically upset senior figure in the government, who's obviously not in there, nonetheless, who'd said that they, Brexiters were pretty glum about what they had heard, had said that that description was basically spot on, and that what they had heard was the Attorney General Geoffrey Cox has not pulled his punches in confirming in legal advice that there can be no unilateral exit from the arrangement described in this draft withdrawal treaty. That really matters, because then what are we talking about here? We're talking about something that to most people looks like a version of the customs union. This is the backstop activated for the whole of the United Kingdom, with a certain degree of regulatory alignment too. That's the level playing field. And then that becomes the starting point for the future relationship. And you'll have seen this morning, there was a very interesting story on the front page of the Times, a leaked account, chimes exactly with what we heard in that leaked account of what one of Michel Barnier's top negotiators told EU ambassadors. What's the overall picture here of much closer alignment with the EU for a period of years than I think some would have expected from a Prime Minister that routinely said that, we've got to be out of the customs union, we've got to be out of the single market, we've got to chart our own course. I think some fear from a Brexit perspective, this would make it really quite difficult to negotiate meaningful and substantive independent trade deals with the likes of America and with the Pacific. Prime Minister, though, adamant on 2 points. She said it at Prime Minister's questions that we could, for example, join the successor organisation to the Trans-Pacific Partnership as a result of the legal freedoms afforded by this deal. She also says, Number 10 have been making the point that it's a negotiation win, that a version of the backstop that pertains just to the Northern Ireland, that would have created constitutional barriers, that is now out of the document, and that is a negotiation win. And essentially, she'll be going around that table now saying, this is the best we're going to get whilst having a smooth Brexit. Do you really want a no deal? That is the sort of argument now you expect. But she hasn't come here yet to give a statement. I'm not clear that all the Cabinet can and will support this. Clearly it's going on for longer than we thought. There could still be quite some drama here tonight, and if she gets through this, we still have all the drama in Parliament too, and it didn't look great for her in terms of not just Conservative backbenchers on the Brexit wing, on the Remain wing too, the Labour Party basically preempting the detail of this, saying that they were pretty unlikely to vote for this, and the DUP in town too, not showing too much love for the shape of this deal.
Okay, Faisal, thank you very much indeed. Should be said, Mark, that any media offensive tonight from the Prime Minister, much more limited than people were talking about. It's going to be a short statement here and then a statement to the Commons tomorrow. But of course, all that is predicated on Cabinet agreement, which we don't yet have. Back to you. Aren't you in bed yet?
Are you up at 3 in the morning tomorrow?
Yeah, I've still got you, yep. No developments here though, as yet. Yep. Oh, right, what am I doing? I don't have a script or anything. Okay. Yeah, I can hear the gallery. What am I doing? Just tell me briefly. Okay, fine. We should get a minute's notice, you'll be pleased to hear. Oh, well, we're here anyway, don't worry. Yes, I can hear you, yes. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yep. 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 Sure. No problem. Okay. No problem. No, not as yet, Ian. Things are definitely overrunning, and incidentally, we hear that one consequence of that is that the Prime Minister has had to cancel a planned briefing session today with business leaders. What we do know is that this meeting has been running for 5 hours now. That means there'll be no time for a statement in the Commons this evening, and the Prime Minister is still expected, if agreement is reached, to come out and make a short statement here. Also, any idea of a news conference this evening, that has also been cancelled. So clearly, Brexit, as ever, is going to the wire. The phase at the moment is whether the Cabinet can all agree to support the negotiated deal that was reached in Brussels yesterday. So far, the good news for the Prime Minister is there's been no walkouts. The bad news is she and her ministers are still talking. Ian. Yes, I can, yes. Yep. That is the word we've had, yes, but not imminent, like 20 minutes, half an hour, yeah. All right. So,
You also.
oh, hello, Andrew, how are you? We can do that if that's what you want. You just say. Faisal.
We've been sort of co-pro.
Whatever you want. We haven't had a lot of editorial guidance. The late. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The latest we're hearing is possibly about 20 minutes away from the statement.
The security's here, so it's serious.
Is the security here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Could be a bit earlier, but I'll sit down here.
Andrew, 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 can you hear me? Yeah. Who else are you going to from the political unit? Like, are we throwing to the Connor Burns stuff? Are we throwing to the Arlene Foster stuff? Okay, fine. But I don't want to. But are we later in the bulletin going to either Connor or Arlene? Because then I don't want to. Okay, so I can refer to them. Okay, fine, good. So you're going to play the clips from Connor Burns and from Arlene Foster later. Okay, cool. But I'll reference them. Okay. Changing the headline from breakthrough to hanging in the balance. we were breakthrough 2 hours ago and now we're hanging in the balance.
Well, here in Downing Street, which is not going to plan, hours into the meeting, there are reports of MPs still in What planned press conference had to be cancelled. Parliament is furious and not being consulted first. Theresa May is still expected to come out with that rather lowly microphone and tell us something of what has been going on. We are expecting her in the next few minutes. BBC's economics editor joins me live now.
Not yet. A few months yet.
Lots to say, it's a bit like Brexit.
Exactly. It's a long transition phase. Shortly, okay, great stuff. They're ready to go here? Imminently, yeah? Imminently. So, yeah. Give me 1 minute. 2 minutes, we're 2 minutes. Okay, fine. Two or 3 minutes, 2 minutes. Okay, fine. Okay, we're very close, guys, so I'm going to start talking and then probably duck out. Yeah. Well, the Cabinet meeting has finished. We are now expecting this statement from the Prime Minister in Downing Street imminently, like within the next 2 or 3 minutes. So do forgive me if I jump out of shot in order to make way for the Prime Minister giving this statement at the conclusion of this historic Cabinet meeting. We have heard some of what the sorts of arguments that have been going on in there. Sky News was told by a reliable source that the withdrawal deal text contains a reference to no unilateral exit from the backstop and a large annex on level playing field commitments. And that is what I think, in general, that type of Brexit is what has yielded quite a reaction from the 1922 Committee of Conservative MPs. We're hearing all sorts of fairly negative noises from people who were willing to show some patience for this whole process. Sky News has heard from Conor Burns, who is an ally, of course, of Boris Johnson, the former Foreign Secretary, who said he's consistently said we don't want to change the PM, but there comes a point where if the PM's insistent that she will not change the policy, then the only way to change the policy is to change the personnel. That's a leading Tory backbencher. Other backbenchers not being particularly positive about what they've heard. So it's really important for the Prime Minister now to start to describe this deal in her own terms, and that's what she's going to do fairly imminently from behind me after this Cabinet meeting. But there are some Cabinet Ministers who won't have liked what they've seen. I've heard that there's legal advice from Geoffrey Cox, the Attorney General, saying, for example, that there will be no possibility to unilaterally come out of this backstop on Ireland, a UK-wide customs arrangement. I am just going to duck out of shot because I think the Prime Minister is very, very imminent. And so we can describe getting some approvals from the photographers there. So let's wait on the shot of number 10. Yes, there has been an awful lot of argument here at the Cabinet meeting. I heard from reliable sources, not obviously in the Cabinet room, about the broad shape of this deal. And it sounds like it's a lot closer in terms of alignment to the European Union than I think many Brexiters might have expected. And when I relayed that news about there being no unilateral exit from the backstop, and also that these level playing field commitments, that sounds techie, really important. It basically will confirm to EU members that the United Kingdom will follow key legislation from the European Union despite being out of the European Union, legislation pertaining to the environment, to labour standards, perhaps even some tax things too. That these level playing field commitments are very important, but they're an anathema to many of the top Tory Brexit supporters. Precisely why they want to leave the European Union is to avoid a level playing field, or what they see as a sclerotic EU. When I mentioned these on Sky News, I then got an extraordinary phone call, I think, from a senior figure in the UK government who said it was absolutely spot on, and this was what was causing some concern, some considerable concern in cabinet circles about the nature of this arrangement. As I say, the general gist of it seems to be a far closer alignment, an ongoing alignment, and some scepticism about the extent to which the United Kingdom could do truly meaningful independent trade deals with the likes of the USA. Certainly not on goods, for example. And whether or not this backstop arrangement activated, a UK-wide customs alignment that basically looks like a customs union to most people, single market alignment too, that could then become the baseline for the future arrangement, an already very high level of alignment. It's not what Boris Johnson says that he wants, and I think it has yielded a reaction from Conservative backbenchers. 1922 committee happened to be meeting today. We've also had the DUP in town, Arlene Foster, the leader, wanting to meet with the Prime Minister tonight, she's told Sky News, wanting to meet with the Prime Minister, but also wanting to see a text. Now, all of the detail of this text will actually be the proof of exactly where the compromises lie. How much has been given up? How much has been won in the negotiation? Number 10 adamant that the Prime Minister's negotiating team has won key concessions. For example, there is no longer specifically a Northern Ireland backstop reference, as had been in, and as they had promised to put in to the text of the withdrawal agreement. And also they say that they've won some other concessions as well. But we will see when this document is published. We had expected it to be published tonight. It may not come tonight, so we again will face hours of not quite knowing exactly where the deal lies. But challenge is getting it through Cabinet. We'll see how much this challenge is after the Prime Minister comes out and after the Cabinet leaves. But then that's just the start of the challenges. Also has to, of course, get this through Parliament. Well, my sense here is that people who saw this text last night and this morning have communicated some of their concerns to their colleagues in the backbenches of the Conservative Party. That explains some of the vehemence of the response that we saw. I think you played the clip from Prime Minister's questions of Peter Bone, the first question from a Conservative MP after the exchanges with the Leader of the Opposition. A very hostile question from Peter Bone, a man who just 6-7 months ago was telling the Prime Minister at Prime Minister's questions that there'd be a statue of the Queen of Brexit, Theresa May, in his constituency. Well, there'll be no such statue, I think, now, certainly not in Peter Bone's constituency. He said that this was not the Brexit that people voted for, and that if she pursues this Brexit plan as outlined, that it will lose millions of voters for the Conservatives. He's not a lone voice on that. As I said, 1922 backbench committee meeting in Parliament at exactly the same time that this Cabinet met. And at that time, Dermot, it does seem as if a number of Tory backbenchers who have been in the we need to change the policy, not the Prime Minister sort of space, it seems that they have developed their thinking in a bad way for the PM. Now, for the Prime Minister, I'm sure, and number 10, they will say, well, hang on, all of you and all of us are talking about a plan that we haven't read yet fully, including the MPs that say that enough is enough as regards the Prime Minister. So there is now an important opportunity for the Prime Minister to sell this deal. She has to sell it. She has to win. Obviously, her cabinet ministers around. One would presume that would have had to have happened if she's going to make a statement in a few minutes' time or a few moments' time. She's got to win her MPs round. Frankly, she's got to try to win the DUP round, but that looks like quite a difficult task right now. And she also needs to potentially win round some Labour MPs too. And
Hear what the Prime Minister has to say. Arlene Foster is waiting to hear what the Prime Minister has to say because right now, as you point out, Dermot, the DUP have not yet had eyes on the text. They're hoping to do so later this evening, but they are really concerned by what they are describing as the narrative around the Prime Minister's proposals, that while the speculation suggests all of the UK would be temporarily in the customs union, there would be specific provision for Northern Ireland in relation to this single market. So regulatory alignment is the best way to describe that, to ensure there is no separation between the north and south.
Faisal, it's the gallery. Can your camera up here?
Has raised the whole constitutional question because unionists are concerned that it creates...
Cool, we're going to stick on your shot when the PM comes out, so if you could give us a nice push in, that'd be great.
Separating Northern Ireland from the rest of the UK, and that's what the DUP has always described as their red line. Prime Minister, although we don't know exactly what they are going to be at this stage. I think we can speculate that she's talking about the confidence and supply agreement. Arlene Foster has been saying since early this morning when we caught up with her at the airport here in Belfast that this is an arrangement between the DUP
The Cabinet has just had a long, detailed and impassioned debate on the draft withdrawal agreement and the outline political declaration on our future relationship with the European Union. These documents were the result of thousands of hours of hard negotiation by UK officials and many, many meetings which I and other ministers held with our EU counterparts. I firmly believe that the draft withdrawal agreement was the best that could be negotiated, and it was for the Cabinet to decide whether to move on in the talks. The choices before us were difficult, particularly in relation to the Northern Ireland backstop. But the collective decision of Cabinet was that the government should agree the draft withdrawal agreement and the outline political declaration. This is a decisive step which enables us to move on and finalise the deal in the days ahead. These decisions were not taken lightly, but I believe it is a decision that is firmly in the national interest. When you strip away the detail, the choice before us is clear. This deal, which delivers on the vote of the referendum, which brings back control of our money, laws and borders, ends free movement, protects jobs, security and our union, or leave with no deal or no Brexit at all. I know that there will be difficult days ahead. This is a decision which will come under intense scrutiny, and that is entirely as it should be and entirely understandable. But the choice was this deal, which enables us to take back control and to build a brighter future for our country, or going back to square one, with more division, more uncertainty, and a failure to deliver on the referendum. It's my job as Prime Minister to explain the decisions that the government has taken, and I stand ready to do that, beginning tomorrow with a statement in Parliament. But if I may end by just saying this, I believe that what I owe to this country is to take decisions that are in the national interest. And I firmly believe, with my head and my heart, that this is a decision which is in the best interests of our entire United Kingdom.